Hey Bewitchlings, Tiffany here on Bewitching.Bemused. Today we're going to cover the magic of moon water, what it is, how to harness the different lunar cycles, how to make it, and how to use it. This was a request from Alicia, I'm so sorry, Alicia Bruette, we're just gonna commit to that one, who requested a lesson/tutorial on moon water. I thought I already made this video, to be perfectly honest. I've made several videos about moon magic, and I totally thought I covered moon water. I did not. I covered a video of creative uses for moon water, which I'll link that down below, but I haven't actually talked about the creation of it. I've also talked about the moon cycles, which again, I will put those down below. We will do highlights of them in this video, but if you want more detail, check that video out. So what is moon water? Moon water is regular old water that has been allowed to sit overnight under the moon in order to be charged with its energy. Now, when most people say moon water, what they mean is full moon water. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I do want to point out that it kind of makes people not realize that you can use moon water at any point in the cycle. They just have different associations. Admittedly, full moon water is the most versatile. However, each phase contains energy of different associations, and you can charge water up at any point in the cycle. Just know where you are in the cycle to understand what that water should be used for. Now, keep in mind that while moon water is a pretty popular ingredient in witchcraft and pagan circles, not everybody feels an affinity to the moon. So if you just don't see the point of doing this or using it as an ingredient, no big deal. So let's talk about the lunar cycles. Each lunar cycle, the whole thing from new moon to new moon, is approximately 29.5 days long. I very much love that it mimics that cycle of life, death, and rebirth that we see in our own lives, both on a larger scale and on a smaller scale. And we also see it in nature around us. We are essentially celebrating the life, death, and rebirth of the sun every year throughout the year with each of the Sabbats. But each month, we have the same thing kind of going on a smaller scale for the moon. For the sake of brevity, I am going to cut out the waxing and waning moon, but I will point out when I am doing so. The reason for that is, I mean, unless you're really, really, really into using moon water, it's kind of a hassle to make sure you charge 5 different types of water every single month. But you can still get those properties from other points of the cycle, and let's start with the new moon and I'll explain as we go. So the new moon, oftentimes people use the term new moon and dark moon interchangeably, but they are different things. The new moon immediately follows the dark moon, and it's when you first see that tiny little white sliver of the moon lit up in the sky. The new moon can be harnessed for new beginnings, transition, change, transformation, manifestation, growth, fertility, and abundance. Now, if we are breaking it down into the specifics with waxing and waning moons, right after the moon begins to wax as it's getting bigger. So of course, the associations specific to the waxing moon are going to be those final 4: the manifestation, growth, fertility, and abundance. Now, they do lean more into the waxing moon, but it doesn't mean that they're not also associated with the new moon. So again, to save yourself some time and trouble, for the sake of moon water, you can feel free to use your new moon water for those things as well. I would just recommend that you practice that actual spell work, if you feel so inclined, during the actual waxing of the moon. But technically, during the new moon, it is already waxing. So you don't need to have a new moon water and then a few days later get a waxing moon water. I mean, some people get really specific with this stuff because you got like the gibbuses and the crescents and the, I don't know that much, I'm gonna admit. I'm not big into astrology, and it kind of starts to trend to that territory. And I love the moon, I love lunar magic, but damn, that's a commitment. Moving along. Next is the full moon. I don't think I need to tell you what it is. The full moon is when the entire surface of the moon facing the earth is completely illuminated in the sky. Now, the reason that the full moon and water charged under the full moon is so versatile is because that while, yes, it does have its own specific correspondences, the full moon in itself is an amplifier of magic and of psychic abilities. You can pretty much do almost any type of spell during the full moon or incorporating full moon water, and it's just going to give it a little non-specific, but a little bit of a boost. The full moon represents and can be used for heightened psychic awareness and amplification of magic, as I already mentioned, as well as revelation or discovery, endings, and this is a good time to finish off a project or a multi-day spell. You may want to incorporate your full moon water to just kind of like dot your I's and cross your T's, so to speak, and incorporate it in your final day of the spell. It's also good for decreasing, banishing, releasing, cleansing, and healing when you are looking to rid yourself of something or decrease symptoms. So that same kind of caveat that I already mentioned with using the new moon for waxing moon water, you can also use the full moon for waning moon water, which was the final 5 I listed in that. So decreasing, banishing, releasing, cleansing, and healing. Now, technically, the moon is not waning yet. It's sort of just sitting on that precipice where it's been waxing, and it's boom, and then it starts waning and coming down. Now, for the sake of moon water, again, so you don't have to charge so many freaking bottles and jars of water, full moon water will work great because it is the end. It has come to full fruition, and now it is going to start shrinking back down and essentially dying. So it does still associate with those things that I mentioned, endings and banishings and cleansings and so on. Finally, we have the dark moon. As I mentioned, it's often used interchangeably with the term new moon. However, with the dark moon, it's pretty self-explanatory. It is when the side of the moon facing the earth is completely obscured in shadow. We cannot see it. This is usually about a 3-day part of the cycle. The dark moon represents and can be used for death, letting go, breaking down blockages and roadblocks, making plans and contemplating changes, but hold off on actually starting them until the new moon, banishing, cleansing, curses, hexes, jinxes, and bindings, and keeping secrets or hiding something. And if you're curious about blue moon magic, I did a separate video on that, and the whole thing will also apply to blue moon water. I'll link it down below. Now, how to make moon water. The process is very, very simple. You're gonna take a container that you can put a lid on or put a cork in or something. Typically, you wanna use glass or plastic. It doesn't really matter, but it does need to be clear. Some people are very picky about the color of the glass or the plastic. However, I've been using a blue glass bottle for years for my full moon water, and I've never noticed it make a difference. But yeah, some people are very, very certain that it should only ever be non-colored plastic or glass, and some people are like, it should only ever be glass. I disagree. Okay, sorry, I had to bring it in because the sun is blasting on me. Fill your chosen container with water and set it out overnight during your chosen moon phase. Couple things about this. Fully outdoors is preferable, but if that just doesn't work for you, you can always set it up on a window ledge. Just, my curtains are closed, make sure they're open. If temperatures are going to drop below freezing wherever it is that you live and during whatever time of year you're making that moon water, I would highly recommend not using a glass container, use a plastic container. And of course, if it does freeze overnight, don't worry, it's not going to affect things. You can just allow it to thaw later. Next, you want to set an alarm and make sure you bring it in before the sun rises. Now, this is preferable. However, there's been a few times where I've woken up just after sunrise. The sun is just starting to crest over the horizon and I'm like, shit, I forgot my moon water. And you know what? I don't always want to wait a whole month to make a whole fresh batch and just be without for that whole time. So what I personally have found is that if I have forgotten it, but I catch it when, when the sun has not shone directly on it and, as close to sunrise as possible, it kind of just diminishes the lunar energy in it. I've never found that it completely goes away unless I've accidentally completely forgotten and I left it out for most of the day. Then it's all right, that batch is no. Now, when you bring it inside, store it out of direct sunlight. See, right here, the sun is shining direct. Look how blindingly white it looks like printer paper. See, look how blindingly white my hand is. That is direct sunlight. However, if you take a little peeky poo back here, this is actually where I keep my moon waters. We've got full, new, and dark. That's very hard to do in a camera. They are, yes. Do they get some sun exposure? Yes, but they're never touched by that direct blinding sunlight. Now, it's best to keep it in a dimly lit area. Some people tuck it away. I don't really have a good spot for that, so where I have easy access to them when and where I need them, so I typically just keep them right there. Again, yes, over time this does start to diminish the lunar quality, but because I make them fresh every month, it's really not that big of a deal, as long as it's not direct sunlight. And then finally, you want to repeat the process every cycle, preferably as much as possible. Again, it's that issue of depleting energy. It's sort of, I don't know, it just sort of loses that energy over time. And so could you use 3-month-old moon water? Yes, but it's not going to be as powerful as moon water you just made in the past cycle. So just something to keep in mind. But if you forget and you still have half a bottle or half a jar left over, no big deal in a pinch. It's not gonna ruin anything. Okay, moon water uses. I already made a whole video about creative uses for moon water, and there's a whole bunch that are kind of the go-to recommendations that a lot of people talk about. So I'm not gonna go into a whole lot of detail here. I'm just going to literally look above my camera at my computer screen and read from a list. Call me lazy, I don't care. Also, once again, I am publishing an article at the same time as this video. That is linked down below, so if you want to see that list, print it out so it's kind of easier to look at as opposed to just like rewinding my video and like writing it down. Just go to the website, it'll make it a lot easier for you. And keep in mind that this is not a complete list. The uses for moon water are numerous. Your imagination is the limit. And it also might be different for you depending on what your particular practice is with magic. So, you know, there might be lots of things here that don't apply to you, and there might be things that do apply to you that I haven't thought of because I don't practice the same way you do. So just keep that in mind. Get creative. Okay, here we go. Anoint candles or other ingredients. Anoint written intentions. Water your plants. Cleanse your tools. Add to a ritual bath. Add to your pool or hot tub. Make ice cubes. Use to make tea or coffee. So long as it's distilled, it can really be used to replace basic water in any kind of cooking or drinking. Add to your pet's water bowl. Use it for water scrying. Make a spray or wash to cleanse your home or yourself. Wash your face or hands with it before or after ritual. Activate sigils. Make a magical ink for writing your intentions or in your book of shadows. Anoint your third eye. Before a manicure, paint it on your nails and allow it to dry before adding your first coat of polish. Drink a glass of it after any magical work to replenish your energy. Add to your clothing steamer or iron. Make rose water. Add a few drops to your water-based skincare products. Wash the lenses of your glasses. Add to your aromatherapy diffuser. Dip a finger in it and draw protective sigils, symbols, or runes on your windows, doors, or walls. Add it to your humidifier. Sprinkle or spray it on the ground or floor to mark the perimeter of your sacred space. Incorporate it into your craft work like watercolors, sculpting, or really any arts or crafts that require water use. If you like to age the pages of your book of shadows by soaking them in coffee or tea, use it to make that coffee or tea. Pour it in a bowl and use it for floating candles. Place a bowl out as an offering to spirit. Dab or spray full moon water onto your pillow to encourage psychic dreams. Fill a water balloon with full moon water, freeze it, cut away the balloon, and use it as a temporary scrying orb. If you're so inclined, use it for your bong water. Finally, anoint everything. If you want more money, anoint your wallet with new moon water. If you want to get rid of debt, anoint your bills with dark moon water. Anything you want to manifest in your life, find a symbol for it and anoint it with full moon water. And like I said, just about any other use that you can think of. If you have interesting uses for it, leave it in the comments below because I'm always down for new uses for moon water. If you're interested in a more thorough breakdown of the lunar cycle, you can check out this video right here.